So that's different, yeah. That's all we have.
Yes, the 35 is within our application currently.
No.
Because I believe it's.
We don't agree with that.
And I feel terrible.
So. That's what I agree with that.
So then you go.
If it has to be, we don't accept that. Considering that. We already gave a deduction on the trip from the. So when we
chair of the board and I'd like to introduce have the members and support staff and attorney introduce themselves. Scott Ray, Vice Chair.
Brenda Fraser, board member. Karen Roth, attorney.
And Champney, comprehensive planner for the city.
Art Deeper, the Director of Community Planning and Development for the city.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. I guess we'll start with the approval of our latest meeting as of November 1, 2022. Had a little bit of a stretching here without experience, but that the board members had a chance to review the minutes. Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. It is approved. And I guess Mark, we'll get it. I'll get a signature copy, right?
Yes, following the meeting, we'll provide a copy of the inside.
Okay, very good. Okay, first order of business is case 23001. It's an application by Len Stoller Inc. and Five Amigos LLC. The applicant and the property of the requesting approval of a special exception to add an automobile car wash is used pursuant to Article 8B Business Zone Section 164-42F at 900 Baltimore Boulevard, Westminster, Maryland. And anybody who's going to testify for the applicant, could you raise your hands? I'll swear you in. Are you the testimony you're about to give? Do you swear it's the truth?
Yes.
Are there any other members of the public who also want to testify? Okay. And I guess we'll go ahead and start with the staff report.
Yes. So the first application to go before the board today is the special exception at 900 Baltimore Boulevard. For special exception. Next slide shows proposed location of the car wash. It's to be located in its area where I was pointing to the northwest site. Obviously, you can see that the development is already started. Obviously, we're going through the conditions that have to be granted, meeting the special exception. This is the applicant's proposal for the car wash. And obviously it's for the board of zoning appeals to go through the evidence submitted before the board regarding the special exception. If the applicant then like to put their case.
Certainly. For the record, to the extent there is a record here, Dave Brooks Leahy, Delaney Leahy, Kirsten Murphy, the attorney representing the applicants, and we're prepared to move forward. I had a few preliminary comments that I wanted to make.
Can I just one quick thing? That's the end of your report. Okay, does the board have, the board have any questions for staff report? I just have one quick one, sorry. On page 3, at the bottom, and there may be just a clerical error here. There's a couple of references to 23-02 should be 01.
Yes, they should.
Okay. Sorry, Mr. Leahy.
No problem.
Keep the record straight here.
Yes, that's always helpful. I think as the board knows, Len Stoller is completing a very substantial investment in a new state-of-the-art Chevrolet showroom. It's located on Route 140, within the city limits. It's on a 7+ acre parcel. Chevrolet strongly encourages, if not requires, that its dealerships have an on-site car wash. And for two reasons, both probably obvious. Number one is to make sure that the vehicles they have for sale are attractive and clean. Number two is they offer their service customers a courtesy car wash. So when you bring your car in for a service call or for, an oil change or whatever, you're offered a car wash. So that's what the car wash we're asking for is for. It's not a car wash open to the public. I can't drive in there off the road to go get my car wash. It's not set up for that whatsoever. So it's strictly for the use of then stolers and vehicles to keep their car and also as a service for the service customer. And so I say that because the car wash will not be generating any new activity that isn't otherwise there. It's not generating any new traffic. It's not drawing in any new customers. So I think that's important to understand from the beginning. And I want to address at the beginning this water issue because Len Stoller will need an increase, a higher water allocation than they've already had. And we're aware of that. And we've been working with Mr. Depo's office and Scarlhart. And we know there's now water available. And there's a new allocation process being instituted, which I understand is so to be instituted within 90 days. So we understand we have to apply for it and get a new water allocation. We have no problem with that. And we have no problem with the board putting a specific condition on what I hope will be your approval, that it's approved, but with the condition that we get the appropriate water allocation. And we're fine with that. So I wanted to just let that out at the open before we get into our testimony. So with that in mind, I'm going to ask Aaron Zimmerman to testify first. I don't know, do you want people just to testify from where they're sitting?
I'm fine with that.
I don't know.
So let me ask a question. Are you going to be able to pick up the voices if they speak from the audience?
Would you like them to come
That's
forward
my
closer?
concern.
Yeah.
I had attended one of our meetings by Zoom and I had a really hard time hearing. So I just want to make sure we can hear everything.
All right, well, let's start off by, would you please state your name and address?
Aaron Zimmerman, 15609 Yellowhorn Court, Rockville, Maryland, 20853.
Are you hearing them okay? Just to, I mean, if you think the reporting information is picking them up, can somebody? I'm just asking whether you. Okay. But Mr. Zimmerman, by whom are you employed?
Len Stoller Auto Group,
And what's your position at the Len Stoller Auto Group?
Corporate Fixed Operations Director.
All right, now what does the corporate fixed operations director do at Len Stoller Auto Group?
Oversee the service parts, collision operations, as well as some facility management as well.
Okay, and is that for the whole Len Stoller Auto Group?
That's for the whole group, Maryland and New York as well.
Okay, let's just stay in Maryland. How many different Len Stoller dealerships are there in Maryland?
We have 6 franchise dealerships in Maryland.
Okay, and what are they?
We have Lexus Towson, we have Lexus Owens Mills, we have Hyundai Owens Mills, Hyundai Genesis Owens Mills, kind of the same franchise, Porsche Owens Mills, and then we have Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Westminster, and Chevy Westminster as well.
Now, are you familiar with the proposed new car wash at the Len Stoller Chevrolet here in Westminster?
Yes, I am.
Will it be open to the public?
No.
Okay. What will the Len Stoller car wash be used for?
For operational purposes of cleaning new and used inventory cars before you take delivery, obviously. And then the latter part is, it is a question on the General Motors survey to service clients, was your vehicle clean after you took delivery of it? And so we would intend on washing service customer cars as well too. That would be a big set of it.
And is it an expectation of Chevrolet that its dealerships have these car washes available for their customers?
It is, and in fact, it is a question that they ask the clients after they leave the dealership.
Now, who will drive the vehicles through the car wash?
They would either be Linn-Stoller employees or a third-party vendor that we would hire and manage, but never a client.
Never a client. So there'll be individuals who will be driving the vehicles into the car wash will be very familiar with the layout of the car wash and how you do it. There won't be any confusion or anything about that. Okay. How many car washes would you expect need to be used each day at the Chevrolet facility?
Between both cleaning inventory and service customers, 65.
And is that consistent with your car washes at other dealerships?
Volumes are different in stores for based on current business, yeah. That's what we expect there.
But based on the volume you expected, Westminster Chevrolet is at 65 car washes, what you're doing. Okay. Which days of the week and hours of the day will the car washes be open?
Monday through Friday, service department opens at 7:30, sales closes at 7, so from 7:30 to 7 p.m. And then Saturdays would be 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. Sundays we would be closed all day.
Okay, so it's not late hours.
No.
Now the car wash has a 3,000 gallon tank that uses recycled water. How will this be initially filled?
We're gonna hire a company that fills pools for people and sorts our water that way. Okay. For the initial, the one, yeah.
Now, to the extent any future water allocation allows a lesser number than 65 washes, for example, 35 washes, will you be able to limit those washes at the facility?
Absolutely.
To whatever is required?
Yes.
All right, that's all the questions I have of Mr. Zimmerman.
The rate of recapture on recycling of the water.
I have another client that's going to testify, I'm going to have an engineer testify specifically about that. That's okay.
I don't have any at this point.
Okay. All right, well, I will, since you asked about my water usage, I'm gonna have Mr. Basenfry testify next. He's right up front here, so that'll be great. Would you please state your name and address?
Scott Edenbray, 104 East Main Street, Brownstown, PA, 7508,
And by whom are you employed?
Paragon Engineering Services.
And what are your job duties at Paragon Engineering Services?
I am a branch manager, senior project manager, and designer.
Okay, and are you involved in designing and implementing mechanical, electrical, and plumbing in commercial businesses?
Yes.
What types of projects have you worked on during your career?
I think just about everything except industrial. If we're talking about now, car washes, municipal buildings, police stations, schools, dormitories, hotels, restaurants. This can go on.
Okay, well, I'm gonna ask you. Do you need to, I have these already pre-marked and they've been pre-filed. Is this sufficient? Did you want to, can I just give you a copy and then make it part of the record that way?
Yeah.
Are you the one keeping,
Yes.
or is Karen keeping the
So
record?
let's,
What I'd like to do is to have Karen walk us through what the board's trying to do is standardize its exhibit application process. And have it, consistent through various applications. So as a part of that, Karen, I think I'll let you.
Well, Karen, I have for you.
let's kind of go back for just a second. And I think it's gonna tie into this. On the staff report, we have several exhibits that are identified. So it says Board of Zoning Appeals Special Exception Case Number 2301 staff report is Exhibit 1. The Board of Zoning Appeals application is Exhibit 2. The pre-hearing statement with exhibits is 3. Proof of advertisement, newspaper and posted signs, or all this is Exhibit 4. So
With that in mind, we need to make this exhibit 5, I suppose.
well, I would unless you,
I don't mind, but I pre-mark them 6, we can just, if it's okay, we'll just cross them out and
I will do that, yeah.
you
that's
do
fine.
that, okay. So you're gonna do it on the official one, and I have copies for the board members, even though they may have these, I don't know if they do.
And the board will accept those exhibits.
Yes.
when they're-
Okay, thank you. Well, here's, you don't want to share and it's good. Agent Gray, TV. Now, let's see, where was I?
Do you have anything further as we go forward?
Well, if there are other exhibits, then they will then enter them.
I had one,
Into
it's other,
But
It's season consistent. with what we're trying to do.
That's all we're aware of at this time.
okay. All right, I've handed you, which pretty much is your exhibit. And, does that fairly and accurately reflect your experience in the field of mechanical and engineering and plumbing? Okay. At this point, I would ask that Mr. Asenbray be recognized as an expert in mechanical engineering and plumbing design and implementation. Thank you. Now, have you been provided with all the necessary specifications and other informations concerning the system of this car wash being used?
Yes.
And, it would be nice to have. So I guess you want this to be exhibit 5.
So we just marked that this exhibit 5 was the resume.
I'm sorry, this then need to be exhibit 6. We can skip the 4. We'll get to the next. I just spoke, I grabbed the wrong exhibit.
Okay.
That's fine. So this next one is 6, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Six, which apparently actually. The last thing. Okay. Hearing what is marked as exhibit 6, can you identify for the board what this is?
This is the information given to us by Broadway based on the actual car wash equipment and everything going in. That's all the car wash.
Okay, and can you describe, well, first of all, how much total water is going to be used at the car wash?
It's for 38 gallons per car wash.
And
So
and how much of that is recycled water?
30 gallons.
So how much is new city water?
It would be eight per car.
And can you describe how, just generally so the board knows how the recycling system works?
So they have a 3,000 gallon tank sitting inside the car wash with a trench rate. Everything's slowed back too, so that's where they have to the water into the 3,000 gallon tank. At that point, it's to their reclaim system, which is in the can next to it. That's where the majority of the washing water, the 30 gallons, comes from those tanks into it. And through that reclaim system, sanitize everything, and then is used for the washing. There is a pre-rinse, which is as the cars come in, it sort of just miss them, sort of get any heavy grime or whatever off of it. And then you hit the 30, that's 2 gallons of water per month. You hit the 30 gallon with the scrubbers, everything. That's where you're getting your major water usage off of the reclaim system. As you get out of there, there's another part that is essentially a stick down district, which rinses the car down further before it goes through the blower. That will dry the car. That's next.
Just a question on the recycled water.
Yes.
Where does that come from?
That is everything that's so inside the tunnel.
Yeah,
When it comes to, so the trench drain captures everything that's used inside the tunnel for the car wash. Because the floors and everything are flowed to that trench drain.
right.
The trench drain is piped directly into that 3,000 gallon tank.
Okay, so it's basically water that has been used prior solely from your car wash.
Correct.
And then is reused in effect.
Yeah, we use that. That is used for the majority of the washing aspect, but then you want to use clean water afterwards to, they want to use that for the final ones.
And there was a little confusion, I guess, in some of the earlier material about that you at one point thought you had a larger usage of water for car wash.
I don't think that was for car wash. I think that was for the site. That was where the water allocation was, the discrepancy was there.
Okay, on that issue, Mr. Haysbury was prepared to testify that based on the original allocation, there is enough water in his belief and his analysis for there to be an additional 35 car washes. But because we've talked previously with staff about it, we're not going to go there because we're not going to ask the board to do anything on that water issue other than grant special exception for the car wash subject to us getting the water allocation later. So that part, to the extent we disclose that part of testimony, I'm not going to go into it at this point because it's become moot based on conversations we've had with Mr. Defo in his office about this future water allocation.
Mark, be comfortable with that?
Yes. Okay. All right, I would move that the exhibit 6 be accepted in evidence. Let's see. Jay, how about if I have you change places with Scott, so you can be closer to the microphone? Would start off by having you state your name and address for the record. Dave Brown, 4514 Coffee Tree Court, Hudson, Maryland, 108. Okay, and there will be just a moment. You're up to 7. TV. Board member. Fred, I'm showing you what we had marked as exhibit 7, and this asks you to identify what that is. My exhibit. Okay, and can you briefly, using your CV, I know it's all there in front of you, would you describe your educational background first as it relates to architecture?
I have a Bachelor of Architecture from the University of Maryland, a Master's of Landscape Architecture and Ecological Planning from the University of Pennsylvania.
Okay, and how long have you practiced in the field of architecture?
Since about 1978.
Okay, and have you received any certifications in the field?
Yeah, I'm AIA certified. I have NCRB, National Council of Registration Boards certification. And I'm a lead specialist.
Okay. Have you previously worked for the Lens Solar Auto Group?
Yeah, we do those for dealerships.
Okay. And can you tell the board a little bit about the facilities you worked on previous to the Chevrolet facility?
So in Owens Mills, we designed the renovation in addition to the Porsche dealership, the renovation in addition to the Lexus new car facility, the renovation of the Lexus pre-owned facility. We're currently in the process of redesigning a Ford dealership to become a Hyundai dealership. Across the street from the Chevy dealership, we're doing an addition to add dedicated Jeep facility. We've done Lexus of Towson, and we do all the big projects.
Have you been the principal architect for the new Len Stoller Chevrolet facility here in Westminster?
Yes.
I'd ask that Mr. Brown be recognized as an expert in the field of architecture. Okay, thank you. Now, your firm prepared the proposed building elevation shown on C9 and C10 that have been submitted.
Yes.
Do we want to go to C9 and C10 on the board there? Or would the board prefer to meet at the big plans or not so you can see them easier, or what works?
I'd like one set.
Okay. Well, this is the only set I had, but we step with it, but
Okay, just to.
can Mr. Brown come forward and explain some of these issues to the extent that
Yeah.
that might be helpful? Okay, how do you want to do this?
Turn this way and cover the microphone. Thank you.
Can you describe generally what the facade and how this blends in with the existing dealership?
So the car wash facility, when you're facing the building, the whole facility from the street is on the left-hand side. We've created a retaining wall within which this will sit. So the retaining wall exists around basically two sides of the building, 1.5 sides of the building. So it's varied, and you could see that actually in the rendering that was shown earlier.
If you want to go to C2, I think it shows that. I think that shows that. It's pretty hard to see, but
So yeah, this one side of the building is completely buried. The remainder of the building facades are all done in stucco, which matches everything but the aluminum panels on the Chevy building by color and material.
It's a completely separate building.
It's a detached building, yes.
yeah, and I think it might be helpful to look.
Continues that.
This might be helpful to see. This is tucked back in the retaining wall.
So this grade along the back side of the building is high. So the building is buried, it's there, retaining wall for that. So you would come in here, exit here, and then these three facades are stucco to match the rest of the building. Or also to match the rest of the building as well.
Can you describe the lighting related to the new car wash facility?
There's very little lighting in the facility. It's no more than security lighting.
So there won't be any impacts on neighbors from lighting. Okay. Will there be any noxious smells that may impact the neighborhood? Okay. That's all the questions I had. We might just leave that up there because on our last witness, again, testifying from that. I mean, I would move his resume into evidence.
And is this site plan part of the record already?
It's already, that was filed with our application.
Okay, so attachment.
Multiple parts, so that's already part of the record.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. So Brian, would you state your name and address for the record?
Brian Collins, 936 Ridgebrook Road, Sparks, Maryland.
Everything that can be found in the folder. And by whom are you employed?
KCI Technologies.
And what are your job duties at KCI Technology?
I'm the practice leader for our land development, as I mentioned, so I oversee all our land development of the Sparks office.
Okay, and can you tell the board a little bit about your background and experience in the field of civil engineering?
So I'm a bachelor in landscape architecture from Penn State University. I have 27 years of experience in land development through multiple jurisdictions within Maryland and the surrounding states.
And let me. Are we up to 8?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
And, 3 8s for everybody. I guess it would be helpful for me to give you your own resume. So, does this resume accurately reflect your experience in the field of civil engineering?
Yes, it does.
And have you been recognized in the past as an expert in civil engineering?
Yes.
And where have you been recognized as an expert?
Howard County, Baltimore County, Prince George's County, and Anne Arundel County.
Okay. I would move that Mr. Collins be recognized as an expert in civil engineering and site plan.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now, I want to direct your attention to C2, which is right there in front of the board, so you may want to go up there and point out different features in C2.
This is the,
Yeah, so this is the car wash here.
Would you explain to the board the traffic flow the way the car wash works?
So you enter the car wash through the backside here, and then you exit the car wash out here. So the idea is that the cars would come out of the service bay, go into the car wash, and they would be picked up along this edge here.
And is there ample room for stacking for the vehicles moving into the car wash?
Yes, both entering and exiting.
And there's no interference with the car wash and the car wash traffic flow with the other site and other movements on the site?
There is not.
And, okay,
I'm just saying, and Mark, maybe you can help me, during the, on your staff report, you had a question, parking spaces. And I don't know, now's the time to address that, making sure that you're still here.
Yeah, they're stating they don't need parking, that decision will be made at site plan. That doesn't have a concern, as you can notice, they have, I think, 480 of the spaces are for display vehicles, so they have plenty of parking if they do need to pick up any, but we haven't really looked into needed parking. It really goes down to use, so we needed this meeting to get a good understanding and for them to testify how it operates.
Okay,
And then we'll take that information to determine if parking is necessary.
good, thank you.
so it'll be just covered in site plan like any other site plan issues, and we feel comfortable that we'll be able to work with staff. We don't think we're gonna need one. And we'll get to that in a minute. Okay, we can do 9. Brian, I'm showing you what we have marked as exhibit 9 and ask if you can identify what that is.
So it's an exhibit showing the estimated noise level coming out of the car wash, generated by the car wash during use.
Okay. And this only shows here just 10, 20, and 30 feet away from the car lot. Is that right?
Correct.
So what happens to the noise as you go 40, 50, 80, and 100 feet away?
It gets lower.
Okay. And given the proposed location of this car wash, will any of the neighboring properties be impacted by noise at the car wash?
No.
Okay, and why not?
So, where the car wash is located, as Jay was mentioning, it's basically surrounded by walls and building on all four sides. So there's a 22-foot retaining wall that's on the back side of the building, where the cars enter. So, that sound will come out, hit that, and dissipate, and won't affect any of the unit or the properties on the high side. On the lower side, you have 140, but you also have a small retaining wall that comes out where the stairs are coming down from the upper parking lot. On the right side, you have basically a retaining wall, which is holding back the upper parking lot. And then on the building side, the building is 22 feet tall, roughly. So you're gonna be shielding the noise coming that way, but in all situations, by the time the noise gets out to any of the surrounding properties, it's gonna be negligible.
Does this new requested proposed car wash have any impact on traffic at the entrance of the Lens Solar on Baltimore Boulevard?
It does not,
And why?
because of the location interior to the facility, cars entering or exiting the car wash don't have really any impact to the main entrance, which is here. It's just so you guys know, the main entrance is coming in. And we're back here, so. Yeah, so they're coming out of the service and going here and exiting here. They would eventually get to the exit when the customer takes the vehicle.
And will this car wash, given the testimony of Mr. Zimmerman, will this generate any new trips in and out that wouldn't otherwise happen?
No,
So that is another reason why there's no impact on this car wash at the entrance.
correct.
Okay. Does a car wash prevent any stormwater management issue?
The stormwater management was previously satisfied as a part of the overall site development, so where it is located is on a previous. It was already proposed to be impervious. So it's impervious going to impervious. And actually with the layout that we've selected with the car wash, we're actually reducing some of the impervious area that was previously proposed, so stormwater is not an issue.
Okay. Do you foresee any negative impacts to the Lens Solar site as a result of the addition of this car wash?
I do not know.
Okay. I have nothing further, Mr.
Just to, I don't know if it's for you or one of the other gentlemen, but the other car dealerships on 140, do others also have car washes used for the same purpose,
Not within our auto group, but I know there's Toyota dealership down the street, that's Heritage, that does operate a car wash as well too.
I think Heritage might be the Honda, but
Honda might.
yeah.
And I was just curious if, it was an additional burden that nobody else had. I have no problem.
Okay. Well, that would be our testimony and evidence. That's the all covers up there.
Yeah, that's fine.
Take it in forward.
Okay, John, do you have any questions? What was the reason that this was not part of your site plan?
That's a good question.
So at the time that the original site plan was filed, there was water allocation issues, and because of the timing of the dealership needed to be installed for their, agreements with Chevrolet. Instead of putting the water allocation at that time, we knew that there was plans for future water. So we got the main facility permitted and built, and then we decided to come back in with the car wash.
It was water problems, which thankfully are being on their way to being cured, at least for commercial small use.
Is there any, commentary? Go ahead. Is there any, plan to have the water separately metered compared, as opposed to the rest of the facility?
We've been in conversation with Mark as well as Public Works on whether or not they were gonna do it separately or as one. I don't think we have a preference, but if the city would prefer it to be separately metered, we could make accommodations to do so.
Personally, I think it would be better, be easier for the study and city to keep track of what's going on. But we'll discuss it later.
Well, again, that could be a site plan issue that, that we work through. Assuming, I don't want to be presumptuous, but assuming we would create a special exception. Follow if you need to.
Brenda, do you have?
No, I think mine were the heavy water, and I didn't understand the potential for increased parking. So you're not adding any to that, but you kind of answered that question too with that. So those are my two from the initial reports.
Do you have any further, is there anybody in the public here, who would like to ask questions or testify? Council, do you have any questions? In that case,
I have some final comments if you feel video or not.
no, by all means.
I won't presume to call them arguments, but I do have some comments. I think the staff report, starting on page 4, properly discusses what issues need to be determined, by this board. The main overall writing issue is the board is to consider whether the petition would adversely affect public health, safety, security, morals, or general welfare, or would result in dangerous traffic conditions, or would jeopardize the lives or property of people living in the neighborhood. And then the report correctly goes through the list of 15 issues to be looked at. And I believe the staff report agrees that we've addressed all of these issues. I'm not going to spend a lot of time with them, but I'm going to go over a few of them because I think it's clear this car wash does not cause issue to traffic conditions or facilities, which is item 3. Doesn't impact the peaceful enjoyment of people in their homes, which is item 4. It doesn't negatively impact property values, which is number 5. There's no odor, gas, smoke, vibrations, glare, which is 6. This is an appropriate use of the land and structures for a business zone property with a car wash. The board under 8 is to consider prior court decisions. I'm going to make a brief statement about Schultz versus Fritz, which you've probably heard before, but that is a leading case. And it's an important case. And it's important because what it really says in sort of layman's terms is when the board looks at a special exception or conditional use, and if there's negative aspects about it, as they often may be, the board is to consider whether the negative aspects at this location are worse or more intense or more detrimental than they would be at other locations in the same zone. So really, when an applicant comes in front of this board on a special exception, although the burden of proof is on us, to prove that we're entitled to it, it really takes a lot to deny one, because the board has to be convinced under Schultz versus Fritz that whatever negative impacts there are here, they have to be convinced that they're worse here than they would be at other locations before they can deny it. Now, again, here, I don't think there are any negative impacts, but I just have to mention Schultz versus Fritz. So I think if this board looks at the issues as discussed in the staff report, I think it's clear that we're entitled to the special exception. On pages 5 and 6, they talk about, the board talks about how this is consistent with the business zone and the objections of the business zone. The only negative is one we've already talked about. It's not so much a negative, it's just a comment from staff, which we accept that we're going to need to get a water allocation application through. And so we don't mind that being a condition of the board's final decision. So parking also, I to the extent that it's an issue, I don't think it is, would just be addressed with site plan. So we would ask the board to grant the special exception. And we're fine with the board putting a condition on the special exception that it's conditioned on getting a water allocated. You would say good question.
Thank you. Is that your,
That's
closes your?
That's my closing comment.
Okay.
I'm happy if the board had questions, I'll try to address them, but if not.
Does the board have any further questions? I don't think it. Well, we'll close testimony at this point. And the board will now discuss the matter. Yeah.
I have no questions. I think we did it well. Excellent.
I would just say, based on the testimony and the evidence presented, I think the applicant has addressed all of the relevant issues pursuant to 164, 161A, and and 164, 169. The only questions, I have two questions I would like as a condition is, Mr. Lee said, to make a condition on approval of the water and sewer allocation, application approval, and limiting the amount of water based on that approval as a condition. I would also think it's best for, in terms of the city's interest, that we require a separate water meter for the facilities, and so it would be a large use of water, and it'd be easier for the city to decide, you know, if they're staying within the allocation approval. That would be two conditions.
We can't require that. Can we go in separate water?
Okay.
Can we? We can require there's a
I
separate.
think it's part of this specific use, yes.
Okay.
So anyway, those are my two comments. Then council.
If I might. When you discussed what criteria they had met, you talked about 164, 169, and 164, 161. And I would ask if you would draw a conclusion with respect to 164, 170 as well. Which starts, if you look at page 5.
Oh, I see, yeah. Okay, I would, I guess what council's requesting is a part of our motion to, if we decide to approve this, would be to indicate that according to the record that these conditions have been met. Is that what you're suggesting? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
I will motion to approve it. There was a whole lot there for me to say it properly. I will make a motion to approve with the condition of the water being approved through the proper city
Water and sewer
Water.
allocation.
water and sewer allocation to the city with Larry's recommendation of a separate water gauge being put on the car wash. And we have seen that they have satisfied 164-170. And it does not affect the general plan. Did I miss anything?
164, 169.
Oh, and that they have proven 164, 169 has been satisfied. And that it would not adversely affect the public health, safety, security, morals, or general welfare.
Council need any more details?
We can go through each one if you'd like.
I never get it right the first
I
time.
do believe that you have enough in the record to say why you believe they have met the criteria set forth in 164, 169, and 164, 170. I think.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved, as conditioned.
If we get through car wash. Easy, easy. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody need a break?
Well, we finished 9 minutes early. Do we get a blue ribbon or a front?
Send it to you.
All right.
Send it to you.
Okay, good in there. On.
I
Look at your game.
trade you.
See it.
So I guess we'll go forward. No takers on my. We'll go forward here. Next on our agenda is request for a special exception, case number 2302. Special exception at 41 East Main Street, Westminster. Application by Bay St. Michael and Locust Lane Center LLC. The applicant and property owner requesting special exception approval to operate Michael's Breweries and Pub Breweries license under Article 28 of the Annotated Code of Maryland. Use pursuant to Article 9 Central Business Zone, Section 164-45 3A3 at 41 East Main Street, Westminster, Maryland.
So maybe just give us a second as we bring up the
Sure.
point.
My understood here.
The second application put before the board today is the 41 East Main Street for Hair of the Dog, with the special exception approval to operate a microbrewery and pub license. This is under the Central Business District pursuant to Article 4 Central Business Zone, Section 164-45-3A for microbreweries and pub breweries. It's located at 41 Main. The required notice was done for this application 20 days prior to this hearing. There were 2 publications in the newspaper of the Carroll County Times, as well as posting of a sign at property 15 days prior to the hearing, and certified mail was sent to adjacent properties stating the time, place, and purpose of this hearing for this application. The applicant has submitted a pre-hearing statement which covers the section 164-169 criteria, which looks at the responsibilities under this chapter for the board to study specific property involved and consider the neighbourhood as well. The applicant, as I stated, has provided information regarding these factors. And we are looking at granting a special exception pursuant to section 164-161A of the board is empowered to hear and decide special exceptions for this application. The applicant has provided detail on the requirements of that section, including the overburden to existing public services, stating that an application for water, sewer and allocation has been submitted, and that is now currently under revision by the city. Also, as part of the staff report, we looked at parking requirements, and those would also be discussed at a later stage through site and department. Also covered is the application of any signage requirements, and those would also be discussed at a later time.
So that would not be a part of this hearing.
Yeah, so it would be a separate permit that would need to be submitted. So this is the location. So it's off Locust Lane. This is the main street. Here's Locust Lane properties on the corner. It's within the historic district and central business district. This was provided by the applicant as a general floor plan of the proposed development. This is the main entrance here through Main Street. And we've got the exhibits for the record are the staff reports, the Board of Zoning Appeals application case number, the pre-hearing statement, and then the proof of advertisement that was in the newspaper and photograph affidavit of their posted sign as well.
Could we go ahead and enter those documents into the record and now let the council
Well,
label them?
and I think we would go with the exhibits as listed here,
Okay,
which would be the staff report is exhibit 1, the application and its exhibits are 2, the pre-hearing statement with exhibits is 3, and the proof of advertisement newspaper posted sign is exhibit 4. But can I also ask a question? The reference on page 2 of the staff report, the 164-45 3A. Should that not be 164-48? A6. Let me show you why. I just want to make sure you have the reference right, unless there's change in the code.
So yes, the section 164-48A6. The microbrewery recovery is a special exception use in the CB district.
It says exactly what it states in the staff report. I just want to correct the citation to the code, that's all.
so replace the 45.3A3 with 48A6.
6, yes.
Is that the end of your staff report?
Yes.
Because more than any questions. To the staff. Then I'll go to the applicant. Anyone who's going to testify, please raise your hand. Did you swear the testimony you're about to give us the truth? Yes. All right, very good. So let you begin your application, your testimony, please.
Okay, all right. Jason Mitchell. Good evening, everyone. So Air the Dog is a craft brewery that is in planning for the Westminster Main Street environment. We're looking to locate directly across from the library on Main Street, which is central to just about everything on Main Street. Lots of great restaurants, lots of great retail, lots of great services, as well as some of the services like the library, right, exploration commons. And so we are looking to get a special exception to open and operate not only a restaurant style tap room, but also a production brewery with the creation of craft beer. We do, I did include a rough drawing of the space, which I think is useful to, as we have conversation, as we talk about the use of the space. We would keep a separate location for the production brewery side, from the tap room and tasting room, as well as access ideally to space in Locust Lane, which would give outdoor seating.
Okay, could you present your exhibits?
You know what, I thought those had already been provided as part of the presentation.
It's everything he has was in the pre-hearing statement as he's.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
So he has nothing, you have no new exhibit.
I have no new exhibits.
So maybe you could just refer to the document that you're looking at, so everybody.
I sure can, absolutely. And so this would be page, and of course I didn't even keep page numbers, so I'm gonna. This looks like page 7 of the presentation, that actually has the outline of the, so. I'm sorry, there's a little one and a big one. The bigger one is-
On that side.
And so what this actually presents is everything is. So, or the lower portion of this would be Locust Lane, and so it shows the exterior walls with some outdoor seating as part of the map. Within the location would be part of the same property. However, the production side, which would be the brewing, the actual producing of beer, would be kept separate from the tap room with an 8-foot passage between the two locations. So we're able to keep any safety, any noise, anything separate from the site where the public has direct access to. We have the space built out to include things like a private room, which would allow us to do private events, corporate events, signings and such, as well as sort of a separate lounge area that would allow us to provide, sort of VIP seating for individuals that wanted to have parties or wanted to have more of a relaxed atmosphere. We're definitely looking to open this as a very family and community friendly location. Family friendly being that, young families with kids. There's a limited pet access. And a lot of people like to bring dogs to craft breweries and such. Ideally, kept separate from people who would want to try to avoid access to dogs. We want to try to put together community events, which would include working with local businesses to do collaboration type events. We want to bring the public in to help with, or to understand kind of on the education side, things like harvest, hop evaluation, blending type of activities, and really just to kind of learn the process and understand this is what goes into producing craft beer. And this is how, by pulling in ingredients from local vendors or local farmers. I know there's a maltster in Carroll County that we're really looking forward to working with, that would allow them to kind of see how their, the agrarian part of Carroll County is able to bring in and contribute to this type of an atmosphere. Looking at sort of a map, if you go on to the next page, which should be a map of the general area. And I hope I have that in the right order. That's not the one before that. It gives sort of a view of how within the Carroll County area, Westminster is very central to that, and the way that the craft brewing community is set right now, it's we're sort of sporadic, and this would be a way to help tie in that community along with breweries in the area like Pub Dog, like Johansson's, to be able to start working with other parts of the community and build events around a hired bus tour, the ability to help bring in more people into Westminster to see the downtown, to see the Main Street, understand what is available to everyone, with the idea that we want people to come to our restaurants. We want people to come in and use some of our services and frequent our retail. I think in the past, breweries there was a concern about what type of environment it involves. But I think over the last 10 years, it's been proven that in reality, breweries, the way they're built, are not a drinking establishment per se. They're a family environment with access to quality craft drinks. And it's bringing in a lot of families. It's bringing in a lot of extra money into the environment. And we think that we can really contribute to that, and we think we can be part of Main Street to help build that up. I apologize, my voice, I've been on the phone all day today talking, so my voice is starting to fail me a little bit. Capacity wise, looking at that map that we had, we jamming people in, and obviously we don't want to do that, but to reach full capacity, we could easily fit around 100 to 120 people, including the exterior seating. Obviously, in the winter months, that would be less. And so, you know, the capacity of the tap room can be measured sort of separate from the production environment. So I guess my way of saying that we've got a count of how many seats we believe we can fit in there, but the square footage of the space is actually larger than what would be available for the tap room. It's simply because we don't want unsupervised access into the production space for obvious safety and liability reasons.
I think you have answered it. One question I had was, you know, what's the need for another microbrewery? But I think, you know, you explained in terms of, you know, Westminster being the central area for, I guess, restaurant microbrewery activity. But just, I guess, a general question: how do you, what procedures do you have in place in terms of keeping underage drinking under control?
Obviously, a very important and concerning area that we try to keep on top of. Staff education and certification process through the tax program to make sure we have people who are trained to identify underage, identify not only things like underage drinking, fake IDs where applicable, but also things like understanding where people have gone past their limit and being able to identify, have a plan of action to be able to address that and get in the appropriate help to make sure that they're not going to be a hazard to the community.
Thank you.
And we're all been on secret shoppers too, so we want somebody coming in and we'll test our staff regularly. We're very big on making sure that they're doing things the right way.
Now, are you operating in other areas or with other microbreweries, or I guess what's your experience in the industry?
I've been brewing on a homebrew basis for about 5 years now. I did get a certificate of craft brewing through Cornell University, and just through my, I'm kind of a geek. I love a lot of the technology. I love a lot of the process, and so I spend a lot of time on my personal time developing new methods, testing them out in my brewery, which is a homebrew scale at this point.
Cornell's a good place to go.
They've got a really good program.
Yes.
Are you planning on serving any food here, or is it the food truck thing?
We have a couple different tacks on that. Obviously, we want to be able to provide snacks, some type of limiting it to initially probably things like packaged goods or heated packaged goods. We really want to work with the local restaurants and stuff to help build kind of shared community. We want to send people to the local restaurants. We want them to send people to us.
Fire delivery.
Yeah,
Delivery blogger.
we've all got teenagers who could be runners for food too as well. So there is space in the Locust Lane space additionally to be able to bring in food trucks. I know that there are some restaurants that are putting down within the town of Mount Airy, the town of Westminster, the town of a lot of the local areas which have been really investing into their food trucks to bring a variety of food in for people to try some new things out. Eventually, we may want to expand on that. But with the space right now, we don't necessarily have enough for a full kitchen, but we definitely want to be able to provide for our customers.
There's nothing there now, right?
Right now, it is right. Yeah, correct. It is empty right now.
You were talking about food trucks, got me thinking about another question. I know the area fairly well, but it's a fairly confined area because it's on Main Street and there's an alleyway and whatever. I need to have a better understanding of just how do you bring in your, all of your ingredients and just, the process of that you have to go through in terms of making, your beer and other, what my concern is the trucks and the traffic in terms of getting your ingredients in and
It's a great question, and the equipment is big, right? I mean, we're not talking, small equipment, this is fairly large pieces that would come disassembled, we would assemble them within the space. As part of the floor plan, we're looking at a way to be able to provide garage, you've probably seen some of the all glass garage door access that would also not only provide the ability to bring equipment and materials in, as well as taking them out for things like local personal or individual distribution with some of the local restaurants and local beer stores and such, but would also allow us to provide access, directly onto the Locust Lane area, directly from the tap room during festivals, during events, during concerts that take place on that stage. So it would go through the Locust Lane space, but we would not drive trucks on that space. It would be individually carried across Locust Lane from the parking lot.
But again, I guess my question in terms of your raw materials, getting them in, you have specific times, and I'm thinking of other traffic that would go through there with your trucks and equipment interfere with the traffic that goes through there at this particular time.
Not any more than any of the other businesses in that space, which require, access to materials for production, right? So, there's a couple of restaurants, there's a couple of other bars in that area. Obviously, we would try to schedule that where it wouldn't be impactful. So whether that's the ability to do early mornings, I think from a production perspective, we would focus the production side early in the mornings so that the tap room could function in the afternoons. So we would not want that. We would want to have that happen during those early production hours. So minimizing impact to the area, minimizing impact to the traffic.
Would any of your delivery trucks, do you anticipate that they'd be using Main Street as a spot, or is it all off the?
I would not want to use Main Street as delivery for that space. There's great parking lot and actually delivery lanes that are set up in that space today. And those would be ideal for that because that way we're not disrupting traffic and minimal impact to anybody who's in that service in that area.
What are your hours that you're expecting? Have you decided?
So we're initially looking at most of our clients or most of our patrons would be there in the after 5. So probably, depending on the, during weekdays around 3 to no later than 10. A part of that is going to be determined based on when people are actually going to want to be in there. On the weekends, maybe we would open earlier, like at noon. But we're not looking to, breweries don't tend to be the late night bars. It is more of the, by 10 o'clock, it's usually cleared out pretty well. And I think, that would probably follow suit for a lot of the other businesses in the area.
So are you going to be getting a class 7 microbrewery license from the state? Or is it one of the other classes?
That information I've written down at home and I didn't bring it along. We will go with the appropriate level of license within the state to allow for self-distribution, which is a special production license. We're not looking at producing tens of thousands of barrels. And so most of the class 6, 7, and 7A, I forget about the specific numbers, I apologize. But we would fall within that space to be able to ideally self-distribute and have the capability of opening a restaurant as part of that. And so there's a rider there with a restaurateur license, I believe it would require either 7A or 7B.
Well, so that's kind of where I'm going. When you look at the different classes of the licenses, hours of operation are addressed in some of them, as well as a food requirement, which is what made me start looking at it. Do you know whether there is a food service requirement, like a percentage of your sales has to be tied to a certain percentage of food sales? I don't know if it is.
I would have to verify that. We did join the Brewers Association of Maryland, and we've been working with them to help, sort of draw the lines a little closer into a lot of those decisions.
Just because we'd asked
We
the
could
question
do,
about
we could do
food.
it, contingency that he receives the proper licensing for.
Right, and it'd be operated in accordance with the.
Yes, absolutely.
What is not called Article 2B anymore, what is it called, the alcohol beverage article in the Anti Code of Maryland.
Right. And we would need both a production license and a sale license as well as all the federal licenses that go with that.
Thank you.
We've been interrupting your
It's fine. It gives my voice a chance to rest for a second.
No, yeah, to continue. Yeah, I just want to let you continue.
That's all that I really had prepared. But definitely, interested in answering any questions. We did bring some witnesses who are part of the community and have been part of the similar businesses. But the word that falls into the process.
And you were going to testify also?
Jason the man in charge, I'm his business partner, Jason Brewer, I run a small business out of Carroll County. I'm just here to help him with sales, marketing and staffing.
Okay.
Make this good for everyone.
Does the board want to hear from any of the individuals from the area?
Sure.
Good to hear.
I'm a property owner, if you want to have any questions. Yes. The building itself now is empty, I understand. The 41 East Main Street is empty. Okay. Yeah. And we've done some conceptual drawings. Dean Camlin has a contract to do some conceptual drawings for the outside facade area. We want to build it around whatever the use is. So to bring it into the community, more cohesive look. Just don't want to throw anything out there. I really want to build it, design it around the use itself. So he's doing some conceptual designs for that as we speak. Once we know exactly what's going in there, then we'll tweak it back toward that use. So we're also talking about creating a larger entrance on that long side of the building that will open out into that public area where the stage is, and also where the seating is, at least proposed to go right now along the side. This is a concept that's been really put out by the city 20 years ago, and then was kind of, because of misuse, were taken away. I'm talking about tables and chairs and so forth, public use. So this is something that really could bring the public back into that area, Locust Lane, which is always supposed to be a focal point of the city. The stages and everything for bands, for Christmas, for everything. They actually even play music there now, full time. The city does. It's pretty cool. But I think that these gentlemen, they're successful. Obviously, it'll help the city as a whole by bringing more people down there 7 days a week. And get more foot traffic for everybody. So it's a good. I think it's a win-win for everybody.
Your Locust Lane, that's who.
Correct. And that space actually, which was built, well, that building was built originally in 1903. It was the first, a lot of people don't know this, but it was the first post office in Westminster. Built, it was the first solid concrete construction wall wise in Carroll County. And then post office moved up to the next block, Center Street. But we're proposing to put another large entrance in that'll face the stage. So that'll be more accessible for the public to get in and out of, so they're not restricted to the front door, and which is the handicap entrance. And then waiters and staff and so forth can go through that, as well as the public, obviously, and serve people outside. And the inside where they're showing a brew equipment has a large radius entrance already in it that was there previously from when the hub was there. I don't know if anybody remembers the hub. That was back in the 70s, early 70s. But that was a men's clothing store way back when. And they put that in there because those walls are 16-inch thick. They're solid concrete walls, so they're really solid. But there's 2 steps down to where they're going to put all their equipment. So it's pretty cool. In fact, when somebody comes in there and most of their equipment is real shiny and metal and so forth, but you'll be able to see all of that. The public will be able to see all of that. And so when they talk about training people about the arts of creating craft brew, that's how they'll do it. I mean, they'll basically give them a tour and show them all the equipment, what it does, from hops to whatever. But so it's not just it's not just a bar. It's not a bar, really. It's a craft brewery where they're actually creating like scientists would, just having to be a drink. But, anyway,
If I'm looking at this correctly, it's gonna occupy multiple addresses. Because the brew part is that in a different address, a different building adjacent to the main portion.
well, so if you look at from a tax map point of view, it's actually, the address is 37-41, the whole building. So it's not designated as a separate address as far as
It's always been.
it's all
one
in
address
address.
too.
Yeah, we don't get a separate tax bill for 41 East Main Street or 37 East Main Street. So it's 37-41.
It's consolidated parcel, basically.
Correct. It sits right on the property line. So that area outside, is the city of Westminster for all that matters. I mean, it's a public area. And then in the past, we've actually talked in the past, from other uses, they wanted some outdoor area use, and the city was open to allowing them to use that. For that, with obviously with some restrictions. There's actually bathrooms out there that were boarded up 40 years ago, probably, that when those which are now shown as planters, used to be waterfalls, little decorative waterfalls, and then they fill them in over the years because of I guess cost of maintenance and so forth. But that's something that could be, really reutilized again. Not the water fountains, but the bathrooms at least. So, to bring for events when they use the stage and so forth. So and they use that stage a lot now. I mean, that's for music events, and then obviously for the tree goes for Christmas and so forth. So,
Do you have to get a special exception then to put these tables out there, since that technically belongs to the city? Yes.
well, you have to get the blessing of the city for sure. I don't know if it's by zoning, whether you'd have to, maybe that would be an exhibit to the actual building. I mean, we don't own that area.
Right.
We have access through that area, obviously.
Is there an application process to use that? Thought I saw something in the materials, some sort of application process that they would have to go through to use that outside area.
We did have, for outdoor seating, a simplified site plan process that, it would designate that place of the property to be able to be used, and then it would be, portioned off from the main area, so it's a very clear divide as to where that would be allowed. That's how we've done it, in the past when we looked at outdoor dining.
So what you're saying is if they get an approval to use an outside dining area, that presumably that would be exclusive to them. So if there's other events coming into Locust Lane, that they would have permanent use there, during the.
That is our understanding, yes, and it would be partitioned, like I said, the tables would have to be, it's a requirement to be partitioned away from the rest of Locust Lane.
And there's an application process that they go through for that.
There would be a separate part, I believe so, yes. However, the outdoor dining for water purposes was included in the water calculations, because it is considered possible seating. So I did include the outdoor dining space for that.
Okay, does the city expect to have any conditions on the use of that? I guess, in terms of the board approval, do you see, is it better for us to have a condition, for city approval? I'm thinking yes.
Yes, I think that and many of these things that you're discussing also will follow through with the site plan process. As talking about, outdoor dining, when it would be allowed, things of that nature, the larger opening in the building on the side. That's not technically part of this application, but it would be part of the site plan that we would work with the applicant for. Also, just a reminder too, that the building is in the historic district, so that, the historic district commission would also see these things. So there are several processes that would take place.
Yeah, I guess my final question to you is that, a condition that, of city approval of the use of the exterior area in Locust Lane,
that part of the site plan process, or is it something the board needs to consider?
I think that it would be part of the site plan process. Karen, would you agree on that?
Well, I do think that it's kind of twofold. I think that it would be, you would approve it as proposed, subject to
City approval.
the
of
city
the use
approval,
of-
because it says in the staff report that on the last page, obtaining necessary approvals from the city of Westminster Mayor and Common Council to operate in Locust Lane. So clearly, we can't just bless it and authorize it
No.
going forward, but I think that it's a recommendation, if you will, or approval perceived by the board as appropriate to go to the council when they review it.
And I think that what we would do is have them fill out that site plan, that simplified site plan for the outdoor dining, and then Mark would do that with the mayor.
Simplified site plan, you said?
Yeah, and that's what I believe that's how we've done outdoor dining. And then, but there are different conversations, obviously, since it's on the mayor and common council. I don't know that they would necessarily see the plan itself, but with all the discussions.
Did you want to testify?
Sure. My name is Billy Evers. I am one of the owners and co-founders of Liquidity Ale Works. We are a microbrewery in Mount Airy, Maryland, right on Main Street down there. And there were a couple things that Jay asked me specifically to speak to, and I can absolutely say those. The first one was to inform you that he is capable of producing completely consumable beer. And the other one was the economic value that is brought. So we opened our doors in November of 2022. So we are very young ourselves. But I can tell you that the community engagement is very real, and the uptick in business is measurable in Mount Airy. So if that has any bearing on your decision today. And I'm happy to answer any questions about the process. I am very well versed in it, so.
Any questions from the board? This witness?
Did you?
Yes, sorry, I'm Tony Gerald. I'm one of the owners of Collision Force. We are a restaurant going in on Main Street 61 and 61.5 East Main Street. I just wanted to come in and talk about just some of the community impact of some of the other breweries and distilleries that we've been able to be at. So one is Pipe the Side Brewery in Hampstead. The other one is Gravina Spirits right here on Main Street in Westminster. We've been able to partner with them to provide some food and some fare for their guests, that come into their building. And also just to see the community impact of both of those operations, made me really want to just come here and just and point those out to, everybody who's here, everybody who's listening. Westminster's ready for it. I think so. We've talked about just Westminster being a Main Street community and, just things revolving around Main Street. All of the Main Street events, Beer and Barbecue Stroll, the Fire and Jazz Festival, the Oyster Stroll. There's so many opportunities for people to come into Westminster, but what is the drawback to Westminster when those events aren't going on? I think the brewery, I think the distillery, I think even myself, going into Westminster on Main Street, brings that visibility to Westminster and to Main Street, as an impact, for all of us. Even just the impact that Pipe the Side Brewery has been able to make just with some of their community outreach, some of their what's the word that I'm gonna use? Fundraisers, just for they do things for not only like veterans causes, but also animals and other things as well in the community, and their impact is just so huge. And everybody, if you've ever been there, I'd say go, just because, and I talk about impact, like everybody knows them from the community, just what they do, what they're able to provide. And I think we need that in Westminster because we have Hampstead, you have Pub Dog in Eldenburg and Sykesville, you have, Brewery Fire out in Tawnytown, but there's really nothing in Westminster to to bring those craft beer that can be into Westminster. So I would say, yes, in our plans for our business, we do provide walking deliveries to Main Street businesses. That was one of the things that we really, really wanted to point out in our business plans, because you do have Covalent, you do have City Park Gaming and Brew Room as well that provide light fare to their guests, but we would be able to provide meals, to the guests going into their establishment.
So are you looking at the artisan site? Is
Yeah,
that-
we are. Yes, we are there. We are getting there. We have another cafe space that we're getting opened or ready towards 97 North in the Industrial Park. But as soon as that one's up, then Main Street's right on it for us.
And we cut you short a little bit. Do you have any other testimony to give?
No, I think Jay covered it pretty well. We just want to do this responsibly and create a wonderful environment for people to come and enjoy the city of Westminster.
Thank you. I think one of the things.
Sorry, one more thing. I wanted to say this earlier, just about you had the question, Larry, about deliveries and just their raw materials. Winter Street or Winter Lane, I can't remember what it is, but that is the delivery lane for that area. So Lycus Pizza is there, Country Kitchen Cafe is there, my operation is there as well. Our trucks come down Winters Lane right off of Longwell, and then that's where our deliveries would happen there. So the impact wouldn't be on Main Street, the impact wouldn't even be in the Winchester Exchange parking lot. Everything would happen right there on Winter Street, and then they'd be able to roll up through Locust Lane.
Would you feel that their additional traffic would be an hindrance, to your operations or anybody else?
There's enough space that they can line up trucks, even if there's multiple deliveries happening at one time, and then there'll still be able to be a pass through on Winters for other cars to be able to get through.
Thank you. And council, do you want us to go? Shall we go to?
Close the testimony.
Well, the question I have to council is just a matter of procedure. Do you suggest we go to the 15?
Yes, I would suggest that you at least take a moment to look through them, because when you look at how they're out. It says specifically. That the board may consider the following factors together with other relevant factors. So if you look through the 15, there may be 5 that you find relevant.
Right.
And those would be the 5 I would ask questions about before you close the record and deliberate.
That's where I was going.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. There are some other questions that I'd like to ask you. There's a section within the city code that asks the board to consider certain factors. We don't have to consider all of them relevant factors. But let me just go through the ones that that I think may be relevant. I think traffic conditions, number 3, B3, traffic conditions, facilities, I think we've addressed that. And I find it, good testimony acceptable. Conservation of property values. I think it sounds like the Main Street area would be considered an additional a plus to the community. I think the number 6, the effect of odors, dust, gas, smoke, fumes, vibrations, vibrations, glare, and noise upon the use of surrounding property values. Maybe you could address that for me.
Absolutely. The process for, obviously, there's kind of a known instance there when we talk about deliveries, we talk about sort of the transaction of bringing equipment and bringing stuff out. There's going to be an impact. It's limited. It's going to just be a matter of getting equipment like the bill out of any other location. The actual process for production of beer, service of beer, so really doesn't produce anything. There is definitely a use of steam. So the process includes a lot of boiling water, boiling materials, holding specific temperatures and then following sort of a regimented cellar process to kind of ferment and then age the beer. That process of actually doing the brewing portion where we're doing the boiling, where we're doing the mashing process, it does produce steam. That steam would be vented out through the top of the building. And it would be really not impactful to maybe dissipating before it would reach anything, any other businesses or any other residents in the area.
It's being pretty much all water or?
It's water, there's slight volatile compounds that come from hops that again dissipate very quickly. I do this in the basement with no impact to the family. It's really just a matter of having a channel for that to escape and not fill the building up with steam. And so it's pretty minimal. There are motorized equipment that would run as part of that agitation process for the mashing. There's conveyors and pieces that run to lift the milled grains into the vessel. Minimal. It's small motors that are going to be running that would have no noise or vibration greater than, say, a pizza oven.
Like Dave said, the walls are 19.
And and all the production would be contained within the building. So there's 1984, we're going to be shut up debating that.
Be the last building standing.
Yeah.
Again, going through these regulation issues, I don't see. Just reading through the facilities for sewers, water, schools, transportation, and other services. With all of your use of liquids and water, and I guess, the drainage facilities, maybe that's a question for you. Are the drainage facilities, sufficient to handle, all of this activity?
In 2003, we did phase one in that building. We basically gutted the whole building down, all the mechanical, electrical, and rebuilt the building from scratch, really just the facade. Structure itself was the original. We did everything ties in down below, actually right below them is the main electrical service into the building. It's where it is as well as the plumbing and the sprinkler gas. So there's adequate facilities there to handle not only sewer and water, but but distribution of power, gas, and so forth, for what they would need. And it supports the rest of the building as well. But all their equipment will be any equipment as far as that would be separate equipment, like the air conditioning or refrigeration would go up on top of the roof. There's steel structures that exist up there now that are supported by the structure, by the walls themselves. They would be they wouldn't be laying on the roof, they'd be on those steel supports and his venting, like they talked about, we're giving them a chase to run up ventilation up through the building, and through the roof, so they basically will go straight up. They'll follow the wall of the elevator straight up and then out. So it's not like there's going to be anything coming out the side of the building, exhausting or anything like that. It'll be 3 stories up, which is in that building, each floor is separated by 16 feet. So it's a good distance up. It's one of the higher buildings, Westminster.
Thank you. I guess we talked about traffic conditions and pedestrians. Anybody else on the board? Any other questions?
No, I just actually, maybe it's for and I don't know if you all know. I can't imagine it'd be an issue, but I know, like, it looks like everything is on the same side of the street. I'm assuming things were sent to the library and that's through the county. Okay.
Yeah,
Just to make sure that they were.
yeah, so it's anything that is adjacent to the property, so next door, either side of Locust Lane, behind the property, if there was anything behind them, and then also any property that was opposite them on Main
The
Street.
other side of the.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other further comments from applicant or public?
One of our witnesses, right there. The fact that he was on the way, I mean, she came all this way, I guess we could let her.
Oh, absolutely.
Is that you?
It is me.
Hi. Oh, sorry, I'm late.
That's it.
We're just sitting here waiting.
Yeah.
No,
Have it here.
Hi, yes. Hey, nice to see you.
Sorry, I was in here until teaching o'clock.
Anyway, we're wrapping up the testimony of the applicants and some of the public here and neighbors, building owner for this facility. And I understand, let me swear you in.
Yes, sir.
Don't, you can raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
Now that you're sworn in, what testimony do you have for the board?
Well, you know, I don't really know Chris, but I love the idea of a brewery coming to our beautiful area, and the fact that some people are so open to the excitement that I heard in Chris's voice when we spoke, and in the email that he sent me. I was like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. And I'm a business owner in downtown Westminster. I manage the farmers market. I don't know if I should be speaking on that at the same time. But what it would mean to downtown Westminster to have this fabulous is just a vitality that is needed on Main Street in downtown Westminster. We are I love the fact that we have offices. I love the fact that we have real estate agencies, but we are dying for destinations. You know, this would be a destination, a place for people to come. It adds to Covalent being a part of it. It adds to collision course coming to our downtown. I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna add to our farmers market having these guys here. It's nothing but good for business. Westminster is craving the value added businesses to revive our Main Street. It's really important for me as a property owner for now. My name's Ellen. It's because I'm semi-retirement. But it's very important for me as a property owner in downtown Westminster, as a business owner in Westminster as a whole, because we own a business outside of town as well. And as the farmers market manager, to be able to draw as many people to our area, not just on the days when we have strolls and events going on, but on a regular basis. What it brings is just something that's we've been craving in Westminster. You know, we had a chance at a brewery a few years ago, and it was lost because of the water issues. Now that's been taken care of. So why not bring in some great life and some great vitality? I mean, we've got, again, all these new businesses starting up that are seemingly very responsible people that are, as a business owner, I know how much hard work and dedication it takes. So this is not something that anybody's going into lightly. This is a major financial commitment from not only the tenants, but from the building owners. And this is huge. And this could be a major thing for our downtown area. And I'm not gonna lie, again, for the farmers market, because I'm dying for beer. I mean, not me personally, but yeah, it's just, again, that we need those value added items. There's been a lot of issues happening in Carroll County government recently with the value added things, with the farm eateries kind of thing. Let's open our doors as much as we can and say, hey, let Westminster be the forefront of making sure that we're not shutting our Main Street down, which I'm not gonna lie, it appears that that's been happening a lot lately. 140, I feel like, is Ritchie Highway in Glen Burnie, which is where I was raised. I came to Carroll County for a different reason. I came from Main Street, Westminster, and I think these guys would be what a welcome addition. And I know I would be walking the streets legally. If they were here. And again, and I talked to my husband already about, we're a business outside of Westminster with a restaurant. We would love to carry their product. I think that, well, again, welcome addition. I can't think of anybody on Main Street that I've spoken to about it, just in casual conversation, who is against it. Or you're not against it, are you? I was gonna say, I'm like, I know you're not against it, you know, yeah, I mean, everybody would be really excited for this. As I said, you know, when Westminster lost the brewery fire and they went to Tonytown, I mean, they're doing gangbusters. So bring these guys in, look at them, hello, let's do this. Just say yes. Just say yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Does the board have any more questions for?
I'm assuming the site plan, etc., which is a little bit questioning thing, but it's not, we'll have the parking conversation with part of that.
Yeah.
And the signage as well as.
Yeah, so I included the parking as it is within and the signage as it's part of the main street and would be a consideration later on. But it would be a discussion that would be had at the site plan level, and then if there were any changes required, parking requirement, they would be done through an administrative adjustment.
And the sign would also need to go through its own, they need a sign permit as well, going through that separate process.
Seeing no more testimony, I close testimony at this point, and I will open it up for board discussion. No further questions? No more issues for anybody here?
It's satisfying.
Okay. I guess at this point, I'll entertain a motion, either approve or not approve.
No, this one's good, I didn't have to.
And that was a very wordy.
Well, it was very wordy, it was too wordy.
So the only thing we have to reference here would be the section 164.
So there's two sections that you want to look at when you're approving the special exception. One is 164, 169, and then the other one is 164, 170.
Getting more advice from council here in terms of both sections. Is it sufficient for your records that we reference these two sections as testimony received and that they've met the burden of proof?
Right, so that therein is the issue, that the applicant has the burden of proof that they have met the criteria for determination set forth in 164, 169. A, and then B are those factors that you may consider. And then when you go to 170, that's the conditions for grant of a special exception with respect to whether or not it adversely affects the development plan, whether it will adversely affect the health of residents or bring existing public services, all of that.
It's not easy.
I'll take it. Okay, pass it on. I'd like to make a motion based on the testimony received today with reference to section 164. Relates to the that relates to the central business act, right?
But it's generally, the business zone is 164, what did we say, 164-48, A6 is the one that authorizes special exception.
Just so everybody knows, we're putting the sky on the hot seat. On the hot seat here, it's a new member. Actually, most of the sport is very good.
Can't just say approve or deny anymore.
Yeah, so the people that fire.
Parents be strict.
And also in reference to section of 164-70 regarding the conditions the board can grant a special exception. That we approve this piece as presented.
We have to add with the condition of the site approval.
Yes.
With conditions that planning commission.
So I think what you had said were the conditions relating to parking and signage at site plan review. And then the approvals required by the city mayor and common council to operate on Locust Land or in.
For the outdoor seating.
Outdoor seating.
I'm sorry, Karen. There's also, they will also need to do the water and sewer allocation.
Water and sewer.
So that needs to be part of, because water is not currently, it's the same way as our last case. So it just needs to be part of this as well. Sorry about that.
So, yeah, and sewer. Is that okay? Thank you. Is there a second?
I will second exactly what he said.
In favor, say aye. That's it.
Congratulations, looks like you still have a lot of work to do, but step one is done.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing us.
And everyone who is in the audience currently, please make sure that you do sign in. And then some of you can get afterwards, if you could sign it, that'll be great.
I one last item here. Had nothing to do with the board. I'm not sure whether we have hearings or next, an application that are for July, like what I rules and procedures for the discussion item.
Yeah.
Yeah. At a meeting.
It is likely to be rescheduled, the July meeting, given the fact that the first Tuesday of July is July 4th. So it's likely that we'll be rescheduling to following Tuesday, which is Tuesday, the 11th of July.
Okay.
And it will be a priority on that agenda to discuss the rules and procedures.
Good.
Going forward, any applications that we received.
And would you, as soon as possible, would you please get the staff input on those particular procedures? At this point, we don't have any input.
And on that note, I did send the board
Yes.
my comments. I sent them electronically because I thought that it would be better if you'd be able to mark it up, right?
Thank you. Any other business for the board?
Darn, do it with some authority, anyway.
Like Judge Judy?
Yeah.
Meeting's adjourned.
I was trying to make things, since I'm going and then they don't.
Did.
Yes.
Do you really, are you like a fan? It just said I